Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book tour, bookshelf tour I should say, 8. This one mainly Omnibus. In fact, I think it's all Omnibus editions. Different ones, Marvel ones, DC ones. This one's Doom Patrol, Silver Age. Quite a lot of Silver Age ones in this. I love this one. This weighs a ton. This is a real lovely, beautiful book. However, one thing with the early, you can see that the glue, really awful. It sort of breaks apart. Not good. You have to open very carefully, and sometimes, of course, even open carefully, doesn't matter. But this is still a great volume. Probably a full pieces, maybe 20 or 30 years' time, I have no idea. Now, have I read every single story in this? I think I've read most of them. I think it was a very, very enjoyable read. And you can see it's got on the back here, My Greatest Adventure, The Doom Patrol, etc., Brave and the Bold. A lot of great material all the way through it. So that's Doom Patrol. Well, I got a slightly later Doom Patrol. I love John Byrne's work. So this one's a John Byrne one. Really, really good. Very easy to read. I read all this one. Loved it. Really, really good. Doom Patrol and it's great. It's also got Green Lantern, Batman, etc. as well. But it's genuinely a great read. This one's lovely. Silver Surfer. Now, I've collected the Silver Surfer in a variety of different versions. I've had the Essentials, loads of the originals as well. And, of course, Omnibus editions are great. I just love this one. And you got some great covers there. I mean, I think there's a few duff issues, I think. Of course, any run of 18 comics. 18 comics has got, of course, some bonus material at the back. And that's one thing, of course, the DC ones, not the world's best. Certainly the early Silver Age ones. They never put many sort of bonus ones. But Marvel at least did put bonus material at the back. You've got some really great bonus material there. The World He Never Made. Just classic stories. Perhaps that was not one of the best of the stories. But some of them, I love this one. That's the one that I think probably, for me, was the earliest Silver Surfer I ever read. Frankenstein one. I don't think I read it in the actual comic. I think it was one of these sort of oddball Marvel comics, sort of maybe Alan Class or something. I remember reading it thinking, wow, what a great story. Now, not everyone likes the modern colorisation of this. Always an issue, of course, with these omnibus editions, but still great selection of stories. Now, I find they're much nicer. Look at that. But the Doom Patrol one, sadly, is probably one of my worst. Actually, my worst one is the Adam Strange one. And I haven't read all of Adam Strange one. Just a slight reading, it really cracks badly. So I have no idea what state that will be in after a few years. Now, I haven't read this one. Cloak and Dagger. I keep looking at it. I think, oh, I must go through these stories. And I've never read them. So I have no idea. I remember seeing a lovely video about this book and it said how brilliant it was. And I thought, you know what? I must get it. So Cloak and Dagger. And it was going fairly cheap. And I thought, you know, I will definitely get it. Of course, you've got some great Spider-Man stories there. That's obviously Cloak and Dagger appeared first in Spider-Man, or the Spectacular Spider-Man, as it says there. So you got there, and then of course they got their own series, and you got Strange Tales as well. So you got a variety of different stories, all spread over. Monday I will actually get to read it, but it looks a really nice edition. And I assume, just looking, you can always tell at the back, you can see the change in the colour there. Obviously you've got some bonus material at the back as well, some great ones there. So, which is always quite nice. The Marvel Tales, some obviously inked pages as well. Again, something that DC doesn't do enough of, I think. I think they have improved in some places, but still not as good as it should be. This one's lovely. I loved these. Brave and Bold, my favourites. Loved reading Brave and Bold. And this one collects a lot of great material. Bronze Age Omnibus Volume 2 collects issues 110 to 156. And I just thoroughly, of course, you've got Batman meets up with the Spectre or whatever, Green Arrow, Wildcat, whole variety of different stories. I just loved them. I think also I loved the 100 pages as well. They were always great. But you've got Batman with the Joker. I think he teamed up with probably the Joker as well. Oh, this is one of my favourites. He saw Batman and Metal Men. That was just classic. And I just loved also the other stories as well. Great volumes. But this is just a lovely omnibus. This one actually still got slight spine issue as well. Quite a lot of these ones that, don't know why. Hopefully they've improved. I haven't bought many recently of these DC ones, so I don't know if the quality's improved or not, but certainly many years ago it was just the glue and just not good. Not good. This is an unusual one. This one's the Wolverine one. Volume 1. I read all these when they came out. Love the stories. Some classic tales in this. And the thing about it, oh, just brilliant. Look at that brilliant Barry Windsor Smith artwork. Just love the story. Now, oh, of course, it's got the original Hulk ones with Wolverine as well, and Wendigo. Classic tales. Just like, look at that. Brilliant Frank Miller there. Just glorious. And again, one thing I love about the ones from Marvel, you've got that selection. I love that original series as well. Wolverine one, I still remember getting that one, that cover. Just great. They were brilliant. And of course, the X-Men stories were obviously Kitty Pryde, etc. Great tales. Nice selection. It collects a lot. Now, I think there is a volume 2 out now, but it also, they went slightly weird. The spine, just flat, slight change. Oh, well, doesn't worry me, but it was just slightly odd the way they changed it. No, this is going to be trouble going through these. Now, this one I loved. I read all these ones, the Flash, the Silver Age ones, Flash Volume 3. I've got Volume 2 next. This is just a great one. Again, unfortunately, they don't put on the back all the covers. Why not? They should. I think they probably do it more now. But the only thing with bonus, hardly any bonus. You've got like obituaries. That's about it. I mean, I always thought with obituaries, also biographies. But it was always sad. Whenever I read them, I thought, oh, virtually 90% of the people, they always turn around and say XYZ died in this date, death in 1987, passed away in 1999. Just so, all the people that I loved reading, all the comic book artists. Of course, you've got the contents there, just great list there. I always like the contents, the way they did that in the DC ones. But most of the time, I was going to say not many have like introductions, but they do, 2 pages or so. Not really enough for something, I think, some just great stories. Kid Flash, Flash Presents. Great tale, love that one. Just superb artwork all the way through. The artwork of the DC Omnibuses I always loved. I have never had really a problem with this, even though I suppose lots of people still probably don't like the new colouring. But to me, it didn't seem so bad as the Marvel ones. The Marvel ones seemed to be ultra garish. Maybe I'm just... Ooh, I had the spine. Yeah, again, you can see the damage of the spine. Terrible. I'm certain it'll be fine over the years. But that one is brilliant. And Volume 2, lots of great stories. Flash meeting the Mirror Master. He, of course, quite often turned up. I always thought the villains he faced, of course, probably should always be... At the same time, of course, the Flash can move so fast, he should be able to beat everyone anyway. But they were great stories. Elongated Man. Love those. I would love to see a collection of those. I've got the showcase volume of Elongated Man, but not, unfortunately, in Omnibus form. Of course, Reverse Flash there as well. Love these ones. 20th Century Flash really turns it on. Green Lantern, of course, Turner. I always enjoyed those sort of... I always felt they could have done sort of Brave and the Bold, Flash and Green Lantern stories. I would have loved those. Don't know why they just didn't do more of those. But still, again, that sort of standard back there. Great volume though. And, oh, I never can push that down. I love this one. This is the Silver Age Flash Omnibus Volume 1. A really beautiful volume from 1956, 1957, etc. And also, it includes a Golden Age story. So you've got this lovely introduction. You've got brilliant contents. But you've also got this classic Flash from probably 1948 and 49 period. Just great story. And then, of course, we're into the 1956 Showcase Issue 4. And I love they also include there the Flash. Really great tale. It's a real nice sort of story combining the 2 characters. And, of course, they came along a bit later where you had these team-ups. Just love those. But this was just full of some really brilliant artwork. Great stories. Really sort of science fiction. Really filled with science fiction tales that I just enjoyed, thoroughly enjoyed. And the Flash there. Now, I read quite a lot of these sort of things in black and white as well as other versions before I actually came to this. They used to turn up in my one of this like local junk shop. I just loved picking them up. Now, I didn't really read them coherently, and that's the great in an order, I should say. So I never knew exactly where I was going from. So I'd pick up like issue 123 or 125, and then I would pick up 115. So you got here Return of Super Gorilla or Grodd. Just classic tales. So these omnibus editions are just great. Finally, really just reading them in order and actually understanding the sort of progress of Iris West, Elongated Man, etc. and Captain Cold and many others. Now this volume, the next one, is the largest omnibus I've got. I don't know if it's the heaviest. I think it probably is. I can't imagine that anything is heavier. This one, Bronze Age. And I think at 1,400 pages, really, this must be the limits for DC or for Marvel as well. I can't see, unless they change the paper quality and make it very thin, very light, how could they really push this anymore? Because it's just way too heavy. You can see the stories of Atlas, The Mob, Losers. You've got Sandman, OMAC, Demon, and many others. It's just beautiful inside though. I mean, it's just really quality artwork. Though actually quite hard to open up all the way. And it's impossible. Oops. It's impossible. I just bent the pages back there as well. It's really, really tricky to read and hold up. Of course, just read it on the bed or put it on the table or something. But holding it up for longer than a few minutes, way too much. So you've got that great selection of stories. Ooh, I've just got to put that down. Too heavy. Commandy, classic. Love these stories. Bought them when they came out. The Last Boy on Earth. Commandy issue 1 to 40 by Jack Kirby. Just great tales all the way through. Really, really beautiful and super crisp artwork. I just love these stories. Though, preferably, of course, in the original for some people, but I still find the Omnibus is great. And again, because it's nicely in order, because again, I didn't get all the comics in order. DC, for some weird reason, always seemed to be all over the place, certainly in my town anyway. This one is brilliant, Shield. This was my first Omnibus. I love this. I was a bit apprehensive initially to go with omnibuses. I was going epics, essentials, completes, and then I thought, because they brought Shield out, and I love Shield, so I thought, oh crumbs. And also, weirdly, it's called the Complete Collection, not obviously an omnibus there, but just great. Steranko, of course, you've got Kirby, Lee, filled with just superb tales. Hydra there, early tales of Hydra, of course, Captain America, and many, many more. And the thing is, with Marvel, again, you've got a nice selection of bonus materials at the back, which is great. Now, this one's held up quite nicely, this Omnibus edition. Really, a really great story. And again, of course, the one thing that Marvel does really nicely, this, I don't know why they included, like, obviously, the Fantastic Four, but of course, it's got Sergeant Fury or Nick Fury. So it's an in-between story. But they didn't include any of the Sergeant Fury stories, which would have been nice as well, but maybe would have just made the book slightly larger. But they could have included like issue 1 maybe. That would have been a good choice perhaps. You got here, of course, you got the covers mixed up, of course, with Doctor Strange, because of course he shared the issue with Doctor Strange. This one is brilliant. I love the story. This one, I don't buy many up to date, relatively up to date. I don't know how old this is now. Obviously got Marvel Now, .1. I think it's quite a few years ago now. But this one's got quite a few. Fantastic Four, 1 to 16. But I thoroughly enjoyed the stories. I love these ones. Just great artwork all the way through. And had quite a variety of different art styles. Mike Aldridge, I love his work. I love this one, the Caesar story. That was just probably one of the reasons why I bought it, because I love Roman stories. And this one was set back in ancient Rome. Just brilliant. But also, I love these ones. Just classic stories. The stories themselves were quite good as well, though a bit all over the place as far as I couldn't make out most of it. That's the same with many of these collections. You think probably requires a read through it again, unless you've been, of course, following the comics a lot more closely than I have. But still, full of some great tales there. I love that. Didn't she die? I don't know. I've lost track with Kang and all the various storylines there. But still, a lovely, quite thin one. Didn't take too long to read, but still a really, really nice one. Future will be fantastic. The She-Hulk, these are just classic. Loved this when it came out, and it was great to see the Savage She-Hulk Omnibus edition. Now, there's a few other Omnibus editions of the She-Hulk that I've seen recently, and I keep thinking about buying them, and I keep picking them up. And some of the stories, there's some good stories, and there's some that I don't really like. This one probably has some of my favourite ones, the She-Hulk one. And, of course, they're all the early tales. When it came out, I thought, wow, I must have got issue 1. Though I have to say, I got to a few issues in. I didn't probably start collecting as much as I should have done. But still, it's nice to actually read them finally. And I've gone through this and absolutely loved the tales of the She-Hulk. Of course, I love the Disney series that was on fairly recently. Well, it's still on, of course, and streaming. This again has got some great extras at the back. You've got also, of course, the thing there and many other tales. It doesn't actually say, oh, it does. 2 in 1. I was going to say, they normally include it right at the back. It's right at the bottom there. And it's got that sort of weird, they changed it. I wish they hadn't changed that. I don't like the way they've gone that very small. But still, I love these. I bought these when they came out. The Alpha Flight was a favourite. I enjoyed it when I first, I think it was X-Men 109. I think it was X-Men 109, Alpha Flight, and all those stories. Just great. Oh, it's probably saying that. It's on there. Yes, there it is. And then, of course, Alpha Flight, John Byrne. Just great, great tales all the way through. And this one includes a lot. This is quite a hefty tome, this one. X-Men Alpha Flight. Oh, Alpha Flight 1 to issue 29. Some really great stories. Just superb artwork all the way through. Now, of course, if you're not a John Byrne fan, you might not like it. But I do really, I think, look at that one. Just the panels there. Just brilliant. Nice, silent, classic tales. Ooh, and again, quite a hefty tome. This one, Canada's Greatest Heroes Take Flight. Oh, here's another She-Hulk one as well. I really love this one as well. This one was great. A lot of mix of different styles again. She-Hulk, Omnibus edition by Peter David. And I loved it. It was really, really good. Again, the art styles did change quite a bit in places. And well, there's one there. But it's some good stories. And so maybe I might buy a few other She-Hulk ones. They keep coming out. I'm not really certain which ones to get because I haven't followed all of the various books. It's absolutely amazing. The selection of hand-picked EC comic stories. Choke, gasp. If you're a fan of EC comics, the best of 75. Now, unfortunately, there's many of the stories that I love are not included. But still, it is full of some great work. And it's a real huge chunk. It's as close as you'll probably ever get of an omnibus edition for EC Comics. And I love it. I still love it. Now, the colouring is perhaps not for everyone. It's the standard Dark Horse colouring, but it's fine. But you've got a lot of great stories. Here's the contents. You can see a long list of classic tales. Graham Ingalls, George Evans, Joe Orlando, and Al Williamson, and many more. Of course, you've got a great introduction there and just classic artwork all the way through, but not enough of like a new direction. It would have been great if they'd included a few like pre-trend, those sort of ones, the really old ones. That would have been great, but of course, some of those haven't been done, the Moon Girls and those sort of things. But still, selection of hand, just if you're a fan, it would have been brilliant if they'd included all the covers. Of course, they would have been very, very tiny on the back, but still, that would have been impressive. But they've got, of course, a nice one showing all of the artists, or a fair amount of the artists. A Premier Collection, as it says. And that's from Dark Horse. Just brilliant. Hefty tone as well. I love this one. This is another classic Fantastic Four. Brilliant tales. You can see there, Hickman, Jonathan Hickman. I love those stories. When they came out, I was just bought loads of those issues. Great tales, and it's just nice to be able to read them all in one continuous flow. Because sometimes, quite often, especially with recent comics, I don't always pick them up. So if I'm not up in London, or I'm not I end up having gaps. So it's really nice. That's a great thing about the omnibus editions again, is that you can finally read the stories that's sort of in between the ones you've got and the ones you haven't got. You think, oh, that's what happened. Look, the Foundation, they were some of the best tales. Really, really love. The artwork did vary in quality, I think, at times. Not all of it was for me, but still a great selection of stories. Now, I was going to say it doesn't include it, but it's right down the bottom, the issues that are included. I did love that one. I absolutely adore these ones. June, and I've got the other one as well. Let's just show both. August 61 and June 62, and I am looking forward to when it finally comes out, whatever it is. The 1963 version of it. That, of course, will be having like the Avengers. This one is just brilliant. You can see the stories that included. You got there, Journey into Mystery. Many, of course, and this is one of the complaints that people have about this book, is that a lot of these stories have been reprinted many times before. Not strictly true, because Amazing Fantasy, there's a lot of stories that were never included in the Spider-Man one. So you perhaps haven't read them before, or you might have. You may. Journey into Mystery. Likewise, some of these stories quite often just gets the one story, and then all the other stories, the science fiction, fantasy stories, that are included quite often are ignored. And also, I love these ones. Life with Millie, Patsy Walker. I think they should have an omnibus edition. I mean, I think personally there should be a Linda Carter student nurse omnibus edition. Why not? Well, there's not that many issues. That's probably a reason why not. But there certainly were Kathy. They could do a Kathy one. Maybe include the student nurse one as well. Who knows? I suspect I will have a probably long waiting for that one. But of course, they could include the Linda Carter stories that came along later. But you've got Millie, Love Romance, and of course you've got The Incredible Hulk, and that's issue 3, and Gunsmoke Western. Again, lots of these stories just generally are not printed that often. And this one, even more so. Again, you've got these classic tales in this one. The artwork is great. I think it's got a nice feel, actually. It's slightly different from the usual Marvel printing as well. It's not so glossy. Sometimes some of these ones really suffer from the gloss, and that's a standard thing with the omnibus. This one really doesn't have that feel. You can see when you're looking at the light there, it's not shiny in the way that they normally are. And I think it just works a bit better than the other formats. So I don't know why this one, and there's obviously the Fantastic Four, why this set of books are not so more popular, but they're not. They seem to get very bad reviews. But I think it's slightly disappointing because I think they are just great. This one's a great tale. Guy that obviously waits for the end of the world, goes out and finds everyone's gone. Classic tale, of course. I think they did that story about 500 times. But you've got this classic, again, westerns and many more. Beautiful format. Imagine, unfortunately, because it's white, that it might end up getting slightly damaged over time. Sort of often these sort of covers do have a bit of a problem, but it's got, look at that, just selection of all those. I would love to see Marvel bringing out volumes for all the other months in between, but I suspect they're not big sellers, so I suspect I will have a long wait for that as well. But they are great. I love this one. This is the Golden Age Human Torch. Now, it's not all the stories of the Golden Age Human Torch, and I would love to see those as well, but this is ones by Carl Burgos. So it includes Golden Age, but also the Atlas Age, the later ones, 1954 as well. I got this one for about £10. It was ridiculously cheap. It was in a shop and it suddenly was on sale. And I thought, I'll have that. Just crack there. But it's just, the colouring is just beautiful. Lots of people don't like the modern colouring. I understand that. I have no problem at all restoration. But still, when I look back at those old fantasy masterpieces and you look at the artwork, the material they will be using, the original Golden Age, most are just not that good. You can see there, just really, you would never, even back in probably in the day, that you wouldn't see it as sharp and as looking as good as that possibly. People will argue, say, yes, it was in 1940s, it looked amazing. I wasn't around in 1940s, so I have no idea. But I think it looks really good still, all the same. But of course, everyone will have different opinions on that. But there are lots of stories in this, and some that were never included in anything else. So really, some of the stories are a lot later. So you've got here a whole list of really classic tales, The Thunderer, etc. Also, you've got here 36 to 38. I don't think they've been reprinted in other archive volumes or Marvel Masterworks, etc. But that's a lovely one. They produced a whole range of these. They've got Submariner ones, also the Captain America ones. I wish they'd continue with that. It would be nice. And the thing about this one, it's Bill Everett. And I love Bill Everett's work. This is Timely's greatest. This was the Golden Age. Now, this is the post-war years. Of course, it includes like 1954, 55 period, as well as a bit of other material as well. And again, just full of some classic tales. Sadly, not including things like Venus. I would love to have seen that. You got Namora, though, doomed in the desert. I think I'd really generally enjoy some of those. They were very unusual. They were weird tales that really very different style from anything that you see nowadays. You wouldn't see this sort of style any time, perhaps for certain reasons. Still, classic tales. And now go here all the way through, and he's got here, this is probably 1950s period. Look at that sea. I mean, the sea is amazing there. I mean, that is so dramatic. You would never see that in modern comics in any shape or form. And of course, I think just going to go back. Let's have a look. Yeah, you've got Submariner versus Green Out. That sort of style. Again, sort of cover you probably would not see in modern ones. And I just love these sort of stories. And I was going to say, show the first issue, because the first issue is here. That's volume 2. Not much use. This is the pre-war years by Bill Everett. Again, I think there should be a Bill Everett Omnibus 2 or 3 volume set. I would love to see that, because he's produced so many things like the Venus ones, but lots of horror ones, like in Menace, all those sort of stories. And again, you've got loads of classic tales here, all the way through Marvel Mystery 21, Marvel Mystery 22, Human Torch 5A, and so on. And of course, I could say, here's the Submariner. Look at that. Now, it's probably as good, if not better, than it probably ever was at the time. Now, it's not probably the same as it was. Obviously, that's virtually impossible. There's no way that anything could be. That's obviously been a bit of cleanup. A lot of cleanup has gone into doing that. But it's still really beautiful. I love these ones. Marvel Mystery Comics, number 5, Human Torch on the front cover. Submariner, boom, by Bill Everett. Sometimes you can never read his writing. It's always one of those ones. But I love the actual lettering itself. But the actual signature sometimes, you look at it and think, what? It is Bill Everett, but I never knew at one time. But they're just great stories. They are really good. Read all through these ones. Just enjoyed virtually all of the tales. And they are actually fascinating when you read through them in order. There is a certain flow in the storyline that I think you don't see in lots of other Golden Age material. He really sort of, you think, oh, there is a sort of movement in the story, which I don't think was pointed out, but I thought that definitely was more noticeable in the Submariner than many other series, like Golden Age Captain America one. Now, this is obviously not part of the same series. I never bought the Jack Kirby one because I've got the material multiple times, and I thought I'm not going to get it again in that timely greatest. So this one's Golden Age. This is volume 2, and you can see the covers there on the back, and that goes all the way up to number 24. Still loads of other issues to go. So I hope at some point they bring out a Golden Age volume 3. But I think they're very quirky, these stories. Look at that. I mean, again, not the sort. Actually, I was thinking for a second that looked like Green Lantern there, but I don't think it is. But it's just very odd. Just the power in the artwork. It is really, I mean, look at that. The explosion there. Very dramatic. You just would, or the someone punching like that. Just very, very different from modern comics. You've got Red Skull as well. Red Skull's very different. Now, Red Skull was originally a different character. Now, I always got a bit confused when you got the Captain America and Red Skull. Don't think anyone would be fooled by that, I think. I think you might notice a slight difference. Oh, hello, Cap. Why are you looking a bit like the Red Skull for? And, of course, you've got that. They always include the Marvel Masterwork ones in there. Just great stories all the way through this, though. And I have got volume 1, I think, in this part. Here's Captain Marvel one. I love these stories. And it was called Miss Marvel, of course, when it first came out. There's issue 1, and some really, really good, very confusing tales at first. Because she didn't know her identity. She didn't know that she was Miss Marvel. That was quite an unusual thing in the sense that the heroes generally knew who they were. So they tried a slightly different with Carol Danvers. And I loved, of course, I don't know why they didn't include some of the Captain Marvels, the ones that were early Marvel superheroes, number 12 and 13, where they had her origin, the initial stories. But they were great. And a weird choice of villain. The villains were a bit weak. That was the one big thing that I would have lots of people involved in them as well. Look at those letters. Lots of changes there, which does make you wonder about it. You got here Miss Marvel, and you got the Scorpion. Scorpion's such a minor character. He's one of those annoying characters, obviously a Spidey. I don't know if he's turned up in other comics, but I never really was a fan of the Scorpion. But you got MODOK. So the cast list of villains was a bit The Last Sunrise. I mean, look at it, just brilliant. And of course you've got Marvel Team Up and those sort of things. Like, it doesn't actually include Captain Marvel there, which is weird. They've included, obviously, she's in it, but still, Super Scroll, any story could. And you got Hey Kate, etc. Classic tales, and it's even got one of my favourite ones, Avengers issue, king size, annual. Love that one, and issue 200 as well. Controversial issue that was. This one's an unusual one. Haven't read these stories. I flicked through them, but I've always enjoyed the Infinity Gauntlet stories. I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to get this one, the Infinity Saga, Jim Starlin. And the artwork looks good. Looks typical, standard, modern, confusing. To me, I find these stories quite confusing. I shouldn't do, but because I grew up with the 60s and 70s comics, the style, the panel structure, everything was Nowadays, you just look at them and think, I have no idea sometimes what's going on with the storyline, especially if I just dip into it. Of course, it's not the sort of thing that, because they do all the stories continues on with a lot of complexity. So maybe other people who follow these, they probably love these stories. I don't know. But I will get around to reading the entire Thanos. There's a lot of different stories here. You got here a long list. You've got Revelation, Thanos, the Infinity Finale, Infinity Siblings, the Infinity Sock, the Infinity Conflict, Infinity T-shirt, Infinity Took, whatever. There's loads of Infinity. I think they just keep wheeling them out. The Sock one doesn't exist. But still, it could do. That would be a great story. I think they should bring that one out. But you've got loads of great characters. Is that Giant Man? What's Giant Man on the back there? You've got the Hulk obviously there, but I don't know. Maybe there's a reason for that. This one, Golden Age Captain America comics. Again, I've read these stories so many times. I love these ones. Not, unfortunately, the originals. I would love to pick up a copy of the original. I don't think I will ever see a copy of the original. So this is as close I'm going to get. Slightly confusing. It says number 3 there. No, it's not. It's actually volume 1. And you've got these stories on there. Don't know why they didn't put the classic cover on there, but they didn't. And that's the classic cover there. Obviously, Hitler being bopped by Captain America and Bucky. And still, just great stories, though. I love these ones. And I would love to see more volumes of these omnibus ones. They seem to have stopped. I don't know when the last one came out, but it was quite a few years ago. So, But I love this one. This is the thing I always love. I love the fact they included this Captain America here. Actually, that's one thing it's always a thing that gets me. And I know people put opinions on it and thinking, well, but this one is always great. It says Volume 2, number 1. Always makes you wonder, was there a Volume 1 of Captain America? Did someone produce something that we didn't see before? Or was it some other story, one of the other comic books, maybe, that was considered part of it? So it's a continuation. But I've never actually seen a real story about why that is Volume 2, number 1. Was it just a mistake? Who knows? It's got a Red Skull as well. The Red Skull is slightly different. The Skull has his revenge. I think I don't know. Yeah, got the Red Skull there again. Again, changed slightly different from the way that, of course, we know the Red Skull now. I think that's enough for today. I've gone through quite a few omnibus editions. I've got a lot more to go through. So I'm going to go through them later. A load of ones, I'm just looking at the pile. Made a mental decision. That part is another shelf. So that'll be for number 9. If you've got any books you want, I want that to be reviewed slightly more detailed. Many of the books I've actually reviewed, so please check out my earlier videos on the reviews. Of course, you can always put comments saying, I really don't like that review or this review. Can you do it maybe in more depth? Please let me know in the comments below. Always great to know. Thank you much. Bye.